My biggest trading wins were never the trades that made the most money, even though those are the ones that stand out most clearly on a statement. The real wins were quieter, less obvious, and often invisible to anyone but me. They were moments when something inside my thinking shifted, when a habit changed, when a decision aligned with process instead of emotion. Trading literature often celebrates outsized gains and perfect entries, but lived experience teaches a different lesson. The trades that change you matter more than the trades that pay you. One of my earliest big wins came from a trade that followed my plan exactly and still lost money. At the time, this felt confusing, even unfair. I had done everything right, yet the outcome was negative. But in the review that followed, something important clicked. I realized that for the first time I was not angry, not desperate to make it back, not questioning my entire approach. I closed the trade, recorded it, and moved on. That emotional neutrality was a breakthrough. The win was not the loss itself, but the realization that discipline could exist independently of outcome. That moment laid the foundation for consistency far more than any profitable streak ever did. Another defining win came when I chose not to trade. There was a day when the market was active, volatility was high, and opportunity seemed everywhere. Earlier in my journey, I would have forced myself into multiple positions just to feel involved. This time, nothing fit my criteria cleanly. I felt the familiar pull of impatience, the urge to participate, but I stayed out. When I reviewed the session later, I saw that most of the moves I avoided were choppy and punishing. The win was restraint. It taught me that not losing money is often more valuable than making it, and that patience is not passive, it is an active decision to protect clarity and capital. Of course, there were also trades that paid well, trades that unfolded cleanly and rewarded preparation. One of my biggest financial wins came from a setup I had seen dozens of times before. There was nothing exciting about it. No last-minute news, no dramatic reversal, no intuition-based gamble. I entered calmly sized correctly and managed it according to plan. When it worked, I felt almost nothing. That absence of emotion was the lesson. The more a trade feels exciting, the more likely it is driven by ego. The trades that fit best feel boring, even obvious in hindsight. This win taught me that consistency lives in familiarity, not brilliance. Another major lesson came from a win that nearly turned into a loss because of greed. Price moved quickly in my favor faster than expected. I felt the urge to hold longer than planned, to let the trade run just a bit more. I recognized that urge because I had documented it many times before in my journal. This time, I followed my exit rules instead. The market reversed shortly after. The win here was not the profit, but the discipline to exit without regret. It reinforced the idea that rules exist to protect you from yourself at moments when emotion is loudest. Some of my biggest wins were cumulative rather than singular. Weeks where I followed my routine perfectly. Months where drawdowns stayed contained. Periods where I traded less, but slept better. These wins do not show up as highlights, yet they compound quietly. Trading literature often emphasizes equity curves, but the smoother curve inside your head matters just as much. When stress decreases and confidence stabilizes, decision-making improves naturally. That internal win is what allows external results to persist. Looking back, every meaningful win taught the same underlying lesson: trading rewards, alignment, not effort. Alignment between rules and behavior, between risk and temperament, between expectations and reality. Whenever those elements lined up, results followed naturally. Whenever they did not, no amount of analysis could save the trade. The most important thing I learned from my biggest trading wins is that success is not something you chase. It is something you allow by removing what consistently gets in the way. impatience, overconfidence, fear of missing out, the need to prove something, all of these quietly sabotage performance. Each win stripped away a little more of that interference. And as I reflect on those moments now, it becomes clear that the wins themselves were milestones, not destinations, markers along a longer path where learning never truly ends, and where each success simply reveals the next layer of discipline required to continue forward. Because the market does not reward who you were yesterday, but who you are willing to become tomorrow. And it was only after enough of these moments accumulated that I began to see a pattern in my biggest wins. A pattern that had nothing to do with clever analysis and everything to do with subtraction. Each meaningful win removed something from my behavior rather than adding something to it. I traded less, not more. I spoke less internally, not more. I explained less justified, less forced, less. The market did not reward me for doing extra work. It rewarded me for staying out of my own way. One of the most profound lessons emerged from a period of sustained profitability that arrived quietly. There was no celebration, no sense of arrival. I simply noticed that my reactions had changed. Losses no longer demanded immediate response. Wins no longer tempted expansion. The equity curve smoothed, but more importantly, my inner state stabilized. This was a win I had never imagined at the beginning of my journey, because I was focused on outcomes, not experience. Trading literature often hints at this stage, but it is only felt when you live through it, when the absence of drama becomes the signal that things are working. Another lesson revealed itself through a win that came after a long drawdown. I had done nothing heroic to recover. I did not change strategies or increase risk. I reduced size, followed rules, and waited. When the recovery came, it felt almost anticlimactic. Yet it taught me something vital. Resilience is not built by bouncing back aggressively, but by staying intact long enough for probability to reassert itself. That win reinforced my trust in time as an ally rather than an enemy. I also learned that my biggest wins reshaped how I define ambition. Early on, ambition meant making more faster. Now it means lasting longer with clarity intact. It means protecting mental capital as carefully as financial capital. It means ending days without regret, even when results are mixed. This shift did not reduce my drive. It refined it. The desire to prove something was replaced by the desire to preserve something, and preservation turned out to be the more powerful force. Perhaps the most humbling realization was that wins do not make you better if you do not extract their lesson. I had profitable trades early in my journey that taught me nothing because I was too focused on the money. Later, wins taught me far more with far less emotional charge because I was paying attention to behavior. This awareness transformed review from a mechanical task into a reflective practice. Each win became a question, what did I do right here, that I can repeat without relying on luck? Over time, the accumulation of these wins created a quiet confidence that did not need reinforcement. I stopped needing to talk about trading. I stopped needing validation. The work became private and internal. Trading shifted from something I did to something I maintained. This maintenance mindset is rarely discussed, yet it is where longevity lives. The biggest win is not a trade. It is the ability to keep showing up with discipline intact long after novelty has faded. And so when I look back at my biggest trading wins, I see not highlights, but hinge points. Moments where a small decision changed the direction of my behavior. Each one nudged me toward patience, restraint, and respect for uncertainty. They taught me that success in trading is cumulative, built from many quiet decisions made correctly under pressure. Decisions that rarely feel dramatic in the moment, but compound powerfully over time. If these reflections resonate with your own experience of wins that taught more than they paid, consider subscribing to continue exploring the deeper layers of trading growth, and leave a comment sharing one win that changed how you trade rather than how much you made from it.